Welcome to Thrust, the Dance Made in Canada podcast. We're here to provide intimate insights into the perspectives of Canadian dance artists. We'll talk about why physical expression matters, what it does in our bodies when we experience it, and how it impacts our daily lives. This season, we're looking at legacy, succession planning, and knowledge sharing. Change is inevitable, but how does one prepare for it? When artistic organizations are built on an individual's vision, how do we pass along embodied knowledge and artistic vision? Or do we? Let's ask some of Canada's prominent creators now. Crazy Smooth is one of Canada's top street dance ambassadors, a choreographer, dancer, instructor, judge, and community leader. He is the founder and artistic director of B-Boyism, an award-winning dance company that has been instrumental in the preservation and proliferation of street dance in Canada and abroad. Founded in 2004, B-Boyism has successfully brought authentic street dance choreography into the professional theater setting. Crazy Smooth was most recently named Dancer of the Year at the 2023 Dynasty Awards. In 2025, Crazy Smooth was announced as the artistic director of 10 Gates Dancing, founded by the late Ted Robinson. Crazy Smooth is coming in with consideration of the legacy of a mentor, peer, and dear friend through this transitional time. Well, hello. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm feeling good today. Yeah, there's like rain in the air, and I'm thinking about what rain does. Sort of
hmm
washes away and brings us in new. How are you?
I'm good as well. There is definitely rain, which means I will be doing work inside, not outside.
Yeah, no patio view for this podcast.
No, unfortunately.
So, in the last conversation that you and I had together, you mentioned that you really like studying things that you don't necessarily like, except for maybe admin. That's like everyone's, we have to do it, but it's fine. Can you explain where this curiosity comes from for you? What is it about the things that you don't necessarily align with that makes you curious?
So I think I being goal driven is the base of it. So for instance, if I set a goal, an example is I want to be a professional dancer. Okay.
Mm,
So from the inception of the idea is to dance, is to make, let's say, dance my living, is to do everything with dance. So instinctually, you already know what you like to do is dance, but you quickly realize that there's other aspects that you may not like. For instance, I thought that, I didn't realize that these were all things that had to do with being a professional dancer
mm.
in the career of dance, writing grants, doing budgets, having meetings, having to talk about, or not in a negative way, but having to convince people of your idea, it's a good one, and you should fund this, and blah blah blah. So those are all things that's not what I thought about, or that's not what I think about necessarily when I think of being a professional dancer, but they are necessary. And some things you may not like, but you're okay at them. Some things you really don't like, you
Hmm.
know? And so the keep your eyes on the prize saying,
Yeah.
that's why I say goal oriented. For me, when I'm goal oriented, I will do everything that is necessary to achieve the goal. So I will dive into things that I don't like. And then sometimes I actually become good at them, but
Mm.
initially I didn't like them. Like the whole idea of having to talk to people like schmoozing, or like I've become good at it, but it's something that I despised when I first
Mm.
started. And I used to see my dancers, we would perform, okay, standing ovation, cool, and then everybody's going out to kind of party, or and then I had to stay schmooze and talk to people about the work, and didn't like that at first, but now I think I'm okay at it.
There's a really beautiful sort of outlook on life that is underneath that perspective that you've just shared, where yeah, there are things that we have to do, but if we get curious about them, if we see them as a necessity for the things that we love, they become more maybe interesting or tolerable. Is
Yeah.
there somebody that you feel like instilled that sort of ethos within you in your life?
Everything for me is from my parents, right? Both my dad and my mom bestowed upon me a pretty intense work ethic, and whatever you set out to do, you do it to the fullest, and you always do your best. So I'm from that generation, and so that has helped me, I think, a lot when thinking, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna do a career in the arts. I'm gonna make my living with dance and with my body in certain ways.
Do you remember any early conversations with them when you wanted to shift into this as a career?
Not conversations about it because, a son of immigrant parents, that
Mm.
dance was not necessarily an option. What do you mean you're gonna you're gonna be a dancer? We sacrificed everything not for you
Mm.
to become a dancer, for you to become, I don't know, a doctor, engineer, whatever. But they quickly, I think, realized and saw that the work ethic and the will to succeed and giving it your best, they quickly saw that's the approach that I had. And it helped when you win awards or they come see your show and people like clap and like, oh my God, So, okay, yeah, my son is, it's serious, it's
Mhm.
not just the idea of like, oh, I'm gonna dance. They start understanding what the career path is.
With that intergenerational expectation of, you said, like,
Hmm.
engineer, doctor, and when you had b-boyism and you made the choice that you wanted to bring this street form onto more professional stages, what made you say, "I need to do this. I have to do this. I want to do this?"
Yeah, that's an interesting question because I was already operating within the street dance world, right?
Mm,
It's not like I was winning battles, I was gaining a reputation in my world, the street dance world, which is the most important thing for me to be respected by my peers, by our OGs, the
mm,
creators of the dance, etc. So that was being achieved, or I was immersed in that world. So then the transition or the desire to take everything that I learned, and a lot of this is because it's not just something that being part of this community, it's not just something that you do on weekends or
mm,
whatever. It's your life, and you identify through this culture. Like a lot of people, and especially in my generation, a lot of immigrants that are in this country that have a duality in culture that,
mm,
I'm from Benin. When I'm with people from Benin, it's like, oh, I know that's where I'm from, but I'm not 100% like that. When I'm with the Canadian friends, I know I have my citizenship, but I'm not
mm,
100% Canadian. So the world of street dance and of hip hop is probably the world where I identified. And so transitioning to the stage and to, part of it is like wanting to pay homage and justice to our causes or our culture and having them being represented
mm,
well versus how a lot of people kind of saw it in the beginning when I was starting, like, oh, this is cool kids just
mm.
spitting on your head or whatever. It wasn't viewed as a legitimate art form. If I go to the root of it, that's definitely one of the reasons why I wanted to transition or bring what I did or what we do in that culture, bring it to the stage and represent it well and not in a watered down form.
Yeah, I can imagine also like seeing representations around you that maybe felt extractive and like being able to really come to it from what you described as cultural, as
Hmm.
like embedded in who you are, as like your identity into that different setting, which, I said professional, but that word means so many different things to so many
Yeah,
different people.
yeah, loosely used because it actually, well, maybe it's different now, but for my generation, it sounds funny to say I'm a professional
Yeah.
b-boy. Well,
Yeah.
no, it's like I'm a b-boy, But today, I think maybe it's people have more like extensive careers. There's the whole Olympic
Hmm.
thing, and so I think maybe today people would say that a little bit more. I'm a professional.
To come back around to legacy, how did the transition with 10 Gates come to be?
Okay, so the transition had somewhat, or I should say, the discussion had started before Ted passed away. He was already talking about retirement,
Mhm,
and people from his generation slowly, were kind of retiring, and those were the things that he was thinking about. So it wasn't like a sudden thing. The
yeah.
discussion was already undergone, but then when he passed away, it accelerated things. The original plan was for me to be with 10 Gates, but to have 1 year
Hmm.
where Ted would kind of teach me, like how, because yes, I have b-boyism, but I'd never been artistic director of,
Mhm.
I've never been in the non-for-profit structure, right? So board of directors and all that. It was going to take a year to kind of learn, but then when he passed, like things accelerated, and so we continued with the plan. Luckily, I already had a good relationship with Tina, his general manager, and
Mm.
I knew Ted, and I knew Ten Gates, so I want to say it went as smooth as it could have gone, given the link that I had with Ted. So I'm now artistic director of 10 Gates and carrying on legacy and bringing my twist to it.
Can you tell me more about your twist?
Well, already, if you if you look at a picture of Ted Robinson and then Crazy Smooth, you'd be like, huh? What's because we're just very different people. But when you know us, I think you can see where we converge on certain things, and the desire to be unique, the desire to
Mhm.
be ourselves, the idea of authenticity, and the idea of things coming from the heart.
How would you define I am a street dancer? What does that mean to you?
The term street dancer essentially talks about this vernacular dance, these dances from a specific time and that are sporadic in nature. There's a social gathering, music plays, and people react. Again, 2025, things are a bit different, but
Yeah.
originally are not institutionalized at all. So
Hmm.
you couldn't say, yeah, Thursday I'm gonna go take my locking class, or Friday I have a breaking class. No, there you go somewhere, music plays, and you train, you practice. Like these, this is where it's from, and the very nature of the dance requires individuality, requires the foundation. Everybody learns, but then you have to be crazy smooth. Oh, that's my name. Okay.
Mm.
You have to be Ken Swift. You have to be Vengeance. So everybody has to be themselves, and through the foundation, find their originality. And people have trademark moves. Okay, well, someone did invent the chair freeze, the windmill, or whatever, but
Mm,
this is how I do it. Well, that's one thing that I love about the culture, but I think that's one of the things that Ted really liked, because he, even though he had training, never wanted to look
mm,
like someone else. There's a club downtown here, Mercury Lounge, and he would go like after rehearsals, or even when he would travel, like he would go to clubs and just like dance and do his thing, because he didn't want to look like some of his peers, like the trained dancers. That's what he liked a lot. And so, what is to be a street dancer is being within that culture and
mm,
that understanding of originality through foundation. And foundation is movement, whatever, but it's also culture, and it's also
yeah.
like historical understanding.
That authenticity, that like what comes from within to come out. How do you approach that choreographically? Do you allow unison moments to happen? Are you thinking about the individuality of all of the performers?
As a choreographer and being a street dancer, that's the balance that one definitely needs to have, because part of the magic of the dance is that sporadic improvising, structured improvisation. I don't know. That's part of what makes it exciting. So by
Mm,
taking that away, you're taking the soul of the dance away. So you can't do that. But at the same time, if you have a theme and you have a message or whatever it is that you're creating, you need to have that structure. So it's the balance.
mm,
So with I've experienced this a lot with b-boyism. It's to allow that individuality, even in choreography that is like made to be synchronized, and at the same
mm,
time, because again, you don't want to lose what makes it nice aesthetically. So you have to be in the lab and test little formulas out, and to see what comes out, and what helps the theme or the goal the most,
mm,
and because the truth is, sometimes you do something really good, but you really just can't redo it,
mhm.
because it was in that moment, it was that. But every time you set up the parameters for that, hopefully able to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, it's definitely something that you have to balance as a street dancer.
Are you part of Ontario's dance world or looking to get more connected? Whether you're an independent artist, a studio, a dance company, or an arts organization, Dance Ontario invites you to join a province wide network that champions dance in all its forms. As a member, you'll access exclusive benefits, from unlimited event listings and professional development resources to discounts on SOCAN music licenses, funding opportunities, and a searchable directory that helps you connect with the wider dance community. Memberships are available for individuals, companies, studios, and organizations, with rates tailored to each. Visit danceontario.ca to find the membership option that fits you, and join the movement to support, celebrate, and grow dance in Ontario. That's danceontario.ca. How do you decide who to work with?
Oh, how do I decide who to work with? There's probably a few things. It could come from just a general respect, mutual respect. I respect you as an artist. Therefore,
Mm,
let's work together. It could be from conflict. We butt heads on something, but because I respect you, and like you've made me reconsider, you've challenged me,
mm,
and I like that. it's like signs for me anyway. It's signs that, oh, that this could be cool because we both respect each other. We don't see certain things like exactly the same, but I can see where this can work. How do I decide who to work with? Sometimes it's also through pure admiration. Like Ted, for instance, I admired him because of his reputation, because of his words, because of his kindness. He came to the studio, and that's kind of how our relationship started. And through that little experience, I knew that, oh, yeah, someday I want to work with him. It's not like I saw one of his performances, and no, it was through a relationship, and I admired him. And then, yeah,
Were there people in your life when you were growing up dancing that did that for you, that challenged you, that pushed your expectations, that allowed you to rebel?
being in breaking, that's this the nature of it as well, is an endless challenge.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, that's good, but can you do this? So there's always like pushing,
Hmm.
pushing. It's part of the dance, and it's also like what I was saying earlier, that you want to be original, and you don't want to look like the next person, so you're
Hmm.
always like pushing. So throughout my career as a b-boy, that's the mentality that I grew up with, like always challenging, always pushing. So my peers or whoever was around me, that's also what was around them, and so we always pushed each other to reach new heights. Now, within the concert dance and the theater and the stage world, that's also there, but not in the same way. It's not as in your face, I would say. But sometimes that challenge, if I think of some of the people that I've crossed paths with, sometimes it's not through a challenge, or it's through just a conversation. And through that conversation, there was a question,
Hmm.
like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. Or a question where I struggled to answer, and it stayed with me after,
Yeah.
or a discussion about a topic about dance that pushed my thinking or my reflection about that topic. It pushed it further. I hadn't explored that, I hadn't seen it from that angle or that perspective.
I'm going to switch gears for a moment, and I wanted to shout out one of your crewmates who wrote a book, Don't Stop the Rock. And I bring it into this conversation because one of the main themes is about carrying on tradition, but with a touch of modernity. And I'm curious, what about that is integral or important to you?
The warrior, who is my crewmate, one of my best friends, so we started a crew together called Cosassins, and the famous saxophonist and musician singers Manu Dibango from Cameroon, who passed away during the pandemic. Unfortunately, we both saw him in concert. He's from Algeria, raised in France. I'm born in Benin. And we both met each other because we're part of a crew. We were part of a crew in New York. When we got together, we ended up leaving the crew, but we were lucky to learn from a lot of the creators or some of the first generation dancers of the dance, the rock. And that's something that they always told us, like, okay,
Mm.
you learn the basics, but you have to do it, with your own style and all of that. And we're not from New York. We're not from the 70s. So when we say that, is like we carry on tradition. So you need to learn, you need to, like Sankofa, you need to know where things started and how they got to be, but then you're that's not where you're going. You're not going in the
Mm.
past. You're going in the future. So take the lessons, learn, understand them, to a certain degree master them. But then a touch of modernity is to go in the future and like, because you also want the next generation to do the same thing, you know? So the dance, the spirit of the dance stays the same, but all the other spices have to
Mm.
bring it to a modern time, you know, or a contemporary time. So we came up with that through discussion as well, and also observation of like how the scene and like other dancers, like everybody is like just trying to be like the old or dance like the old generation. And it's like, no, well, guys, you know, like
Mm.
that's not the message here. It's like, you know, they dance different from their teacher, so you have to keep. Yeah, that's one of the things that we always talk about together. And so yeah, he put it in the book. I'm carrying on legacy in the sense that, you know, in our discussion, I was telling you like just did the my first core grant application,
Mm-hmm.
and in that process, like, so I read the application that Ted did, and it's a lot, you know. It's scary. Yeah, this is what was done before me, and so I'm carrying on legacy. I want to take and move forward with,
Mm.
and hopefully, let's say someday I pass it on to someone else. This is going to be what Ted did, then there's going to be
Mm.
what I did, and then the next person is like, oh, okay, so there's all of this, but I'm not wanting him to do what I did or what
Yeah.
Ted did. Want that person yeah, to carry on the tradition, the legacy, and move forward.
Has there been a piece of advice or a message that Ted shared with you that is something that you are carrying forward with you?
I don't want to say one-liners, but there's a lot of things that he shared with me, and his presence was also just a very calming had a very calming effect on me.
Mm.
And you know, being in dance and living the busy life, it's like you talk to Ted, it's like, okay, all right, he came in as an outside eye and it grew.
Mm.
And at one point he told me that I needed to relax a bit and stop being a bit of a control freak, and stop that in my creation process, because of the work that I've done, the hard work and setting things up, that there comes a point in that process where it's no longer up to me, and that the work tells me what it needs. At some point, the work tells you what it needs and what it wants. And so that's something. Yeah, I'm still a control freak, and you know, that's still, but that's something that I carry with me a lot, that Ted told me.
I really look forward to following how 10 Gates and B-Boyism tells you what it needs as you continue into this future that we're all propelling towards.
Thank you so much. This was a great conversation.
Thanks for tuning into Thrust, the Dance Made in Canada podcast. Thrust is presented by Dance Made in Canada Fête au Canada Festival, a biennial dance festival featuring dance artists from across Turtle Island with unique artistic visions from diverse backgrounds. We acknowledge that this land, colonially known as Canada, has been the site of dance for many millennia. We are grateful for the ability to dance and celebrate on Turtle Island. Thrust is produced by Mayumi Lashbrook and Taylor Zalek Young, editor and composer Jamar Powell, sound engineer Chris Dupuis at 1990 Studios, and cover photography by Marlo Porter. And I'm your host, Aria Evans. Thank you to our funders, Canadian Heritage, the Canada Council for the Arts, Ontario Arts Council, and Toronto Arts Council, and our donors and individual donors. We couldn't do this without their constant support. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to rate and review. Let dance transform you.